Well, joining us on the line now is director Aaron Petersen and filmmaker Alec Doomadgee talking about a new coming-of-age documentary, Sack's Ceremony. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Greg.
Good morning, Greg. How you doing, mate?
Good, thanks. Thank you for talking to me about Sack's Ceremony, which is an interesting coming-of-age film tale that tells about Sack Doomadgee and his journey towards this ritual, traditional Aboriginal ceremony. Can you tell us a little bit about how it all came about, Alex?
It was a concept that I've had for a long time, to guess tell the beauty of our culture and show how wonderful it is, and certainly show why the connection to our tribal links and our rituals over so many years, and what it means to Indigenous men and women, and why we need to keep that connection going. So it was a dream of mine to make a feature documentary about this and show it to the world in such a beautiful light through filmmaking, and that's where Aaron's come on board. So I think Aaron done a wonderful job with this film and take it to where we need it to be.
Now, I believe you spent a couple of years shooting footage before you even met Aaron. Can you tell us about how that meeting came about?
Prior to meeting Aaron, I was running around sort of doing ad hoc stuff with a little handheld camera and looking for a good partner to come on board to believe in the project as much as I did, because they had to buy into what I was doing, and it took me a long while to find someone that had that belief, and I guess had the passion the same as I did to make this film. And that's where Aaron came in. When I first met Aaron, we were working on another project called On the Edge, and straight away we just hit it off, and I'll let him tell that side of it, because he can tell you exactly why he decided to get involved, but that's how I first met him in 2009. Aaron, you want to tell?
Yeah, I mean, for me to get involved, like when Alec started sharing the stories with me, I was just immediately engaged. It was just something that was of a lot of interest from an educational point of view. I didn't learn a lot about Aboriginal culture when I was growing up, and Alec's an incredible storyteller. So listening to what he was sharing with me about Zach and his plans to go through his initiation, it was amazing, and I just had to be a part of it. And we jumped in straight away and then picked up the big cameras and really made a concerted effort in making sure that we had a one in a lifetime opportunity of being able to film this. So we just wanted to make sure it was filmed at cinematic proportions. So thankfully it all panned out well, and it's quite an amazing masterpiece on the big screen when you see how good country looks.
It looks beautiful on the big screen. Can you also talk then about cinematographer Robert Morton and working with him on the look and feel of the film?
I love Rob. Rob's the man. He's a South African brother, and I tell you what, it was good to have such an international crew do this film. He's a friend of Aaron. Aaron brought him into the fold. And I believe he was, prior to working with us, was working on The Great Gatsby in Sydney with as Lerman and that. So, that was a bit of a contrast going from the glitz and glamour of that to coming out bush with the flies and snakes. So but I'll let Aaron tell you about Rob.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was as I said before, it was really important that we did capture this as best as we possibly could. So, once I started talking to some DPs, and I was sharing with them that it's about 45 degrees constantly, and humidity makes it probably more like 50 degrees. Everyone was kind of freaking out as to what camera and how we were going to go about it. So, it's a long way out of any town. A lot of the footage that we shot was a couple of hours away from the nearest town. So it was hot, it was dusty, it was quite a challenge, but it's all paid off. And thanks to Rob and his patience and the ability to be able to work 14 to 16 hour days to capture this. It's been a great honour working alongside of him.
I'd work with Rob. He's a great man, and his generosity towards the film was amazing. And the vision speaks for itself. The film speaks for itself. Rob's work is brilliant.
And did working with a red camera, shooting with a red camera, make a lot of difference on the film itself?
I mean, look, just having, at the time when we filmed in 2013, that was by far the best camera in terms of capturing the picture. And it was the new Dragon at the time with the 6K capability. So red, it's not good with heat. So we had to devise a little plan to try and keep the camera cool.
Right.
It doesn't operate very well above 40 degrees, and so we came up with a little idea of these chemical cooling bags. So what we did was, every time the camera started cooking and the fans kicked in, it sounded like a jet plane was about to take off right next to us. We cracked a few cooling bags and laid them all over the camera, and it paid off. You know, we took up 3 or 4 boxes of these because we were up there for a whole month. We took up 3 or 4 boxes of these cooling bags, and we burned through them pretty quickly.
Now, Aaron, this is your first feature film as a director there. When you came on board the project, did you imagine where it was going to take you over the next 6 years or so?
No, I mean, it's been a journey for all of us. Alec always had a really strong vision as to where it was going to go, and he wanted it to be a feature-length doco, and he wanted it to be of international status. So it was something that we had to work up to. In the beginning, like Alec said, we were shooting with little HTV cameras, small-form cameras, and we had to gradually work up to the better cameras as the budgets increased. So it was a progression of technology. It was a progression of all our skills and the ability to be able to capture the story. Just took it to those epic proportions, basically.
I think I tricked him, Greg. I made him believe that he was making a half-hour short doco for a TV series, and then 10 years later, I got a feature documentary, and he was like, how did that happen?
Now, the subject of the film is Zach, and he virtually grows up on camera throughout the film there. How hard was it to convince him to be involved in this film?
Look, because I've always sort of been around the media, and I worked in radio and television, and I've always had a camera around home doing stuff on, family holidays, it was kind of natural for Zach. In our family, Zach's the clown of the family, I guess, and always telling jokes and wanting to be... In fact, he just walked in on us. Come here, Zach. Come here for a second. Come here and tell Greg, how did you feel about being in front of the camera? Hang on. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Yeah. Good, how are you?
I'm good, man. Just stepped out of the shower, so got ready to go for breakfast. For me, it was, I loved it. I love being on camera. I love seeing myself. I love watching all my people and seeing how beautiful our culture's been shot.
Yeah.
And Aaron shot it in a beautiful way, so, and the editing's all good. And
so
I guess the answer to your question, Greg, it wasn't hard to convince him to get in front of the camera. Thank you, Zach. You can head off for your brekkie. he loved being in front of the camera, as he grew up and he got older, he realised why it was important to shoot this film. And even now, when he gets asked, how he feels, he knew that this film was going to probably be something very important for our people.
And it's a lot of credit to Zach as well. He gave up a lot of his time growing up. Teenage years are quite a difficult year to be able to share what's going on in your life. And he knew the end goal. He knew what he had to achieve, and thankfully he was able to share that with us all through the lens.
Yeah, and as I said at the start, this is a bit of a coming-of-age tale for Zach when he learns life lessons and that he's finding his own identity and everything. But the story has a lot of other universal themes running throughout it too, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It's a very universal story in the aspect, I guess, the father and son story, and it's a really beautiful, touching, backstory there of Zach and his mother. But there's also another little sort of twist in there with the connection between the brotherly love between him and his little brother Bailey. And on top of that, also, Zach comes from a split family, a separated family where there's a stepmother involved. So even, I guess, to this day and age, divorce and separated families is kind of a common and normal thing. So dealing with that as well, there's a lot of different little stories that people can relate to within this film, and I love that about it. There's a lot of elements to it, and it has layers. So, it's a film that a whole family can enjoy.
And the fact that it's dealing with a young kid who's caught between two worlds there, it has a few connections, I think, with Stephen Page's Spear, which was out last year. Have you seen that film?
Oh, beautifully shot film. I love what Stephen done with that with Spear, and I love how Bangara has really utilised their talent and the dancing in that film. It certainly does have a lot of connection to that as well. I mean, the way Stephen's captured Spear and the way I guess this plays out has a certain, I guess, a similarity. And even compared to, I guess, the film with Ethan Hawke called Boyhood,
Right.
We feel honoured and privileged that we've been compared to those films. So, it certainly gives people a reference point when they're talking about Zach's ceremony. So, with that rite of passage and the importance of ceremony, I can't, I guess, stress how much it means to an Indigenous man or Indigenous woman to have that knowledge and to have that connection to that old way.
Well, Alex, I've got to ask you, how hard was it to get the elders to agree to let you and Aaron film the ceremony itself?
It took a lot of years, and it certainly took a lot of work on my part to earn my respect amongst the law keepers and the ceremony keepers, with the old women and the old men, to make sure that I was doing the best, the right thing by the tribe and by our mob, to always have their best interests at heart. Mm-hmm. And when it came to actually finally introducing the camera and bringing a white film crew on our land, on our country out there, everything was led by the elders, by the law keepers, to make sure that what we were shooting was appropriate and we were allowed to film it. And that's what we kept it to. We made sure we stuck to protocol. Cultural protocol was at the forefront of everything we've done. And nothing was ever done without them signing off on it or agreeing to us doing it. And that's why this film is very important for our mob, because it's told from our perspective, it's told in our way, and we're the ones that are leading this story.
Right. So, Aaron, as you said, you didn't know a lot about Aboriginal culture before you started this film. What have you taken away from the experience of working on this film?
It's completely changed my life. It's completely changed my perspective on everything,
right.
And not only my life as well. It's changed my boys' life. I've got two young boys, aged 8 and 10, and they are growing up very different to how I grew up. I've seen the ripple effect then throughout my family and my greater family and my friends. So it's just, from my experience, walking alongside Alec and Zach and experiencing their story and their journey and seeing how beautiful the community and the people are of Borroloola and Robinson River and Doomadgee up there. It breaks down pretty much all the stereotypes which I was brought up with. And, I'm able to now go out and share this whole new experience through the film and also through, the stories that I can share from behind the film.
Now, Aaron, you come from a background as an editor. How did that shape your approach to working on the film itself?
I've edited for 20 years, so a natural progression for me was walk into...
Great editor, by the way. The best editor I've ever seen. Let me tell you right now, the best editor in the business.
So it was a natural progression for me to walk into a director's role. And, I'd sat alongside a lot of great directors over the years as well, seeing how they operate and how they tell their stories. And, I was really excited to be able to get this opportunity. And I think I did edit the doco as well. I wanted to work closely with another editor, but I kind of missed that opportunity. And I guess knowing the footage so intimately and so well and the story, it made sense for me to piece it together. But it was a long process. I think we were in post-production for close to a year, so we had to work through 450 hours worth of footage and put together a 93-minute feature-length doco, which thankfully tells a great story.
So can you talk a little bit more about that process of editing down that footage to what we see on screen, how you went about making some of these choices in the editing room?
Yeah, it was difficult to begin with. Sort of sitting there going through all the footage over the course of 9 years and knowing how much we had to work with. Structuring the story arc, which was the most challenging in the beginning. So we went through 3 or 4 different processes just to see how we would piece it together. We initially went down the path of themes. As you mentioned earlier, there's quite a few themes in the film that we wanted to cover off. And so we went down that path, and it was just a little too confusing sort of seeing Zach bouncing around in the different ages. So it was pretty obvious after we'd pieced together that cut that we had to follow Zach's journey from 6 to 16. So after we'd done all that, I think we had a 4.5-hour cut, which our EP Mitzi Goldman had the great pleasure of sitting through and making some suggestions based off the back of that. But once we got it down to about the 2-hour mark, it was then a process of working closely with Alec and his family, and especially the elders back up on country, the ones that were giving us access to all the ceremony components. So we took a long version of the edit back up onto country and sat down with them and made sure that they were happy with what they were seeing, and they were really touched with what they witnessed and the way it was shot. And I think one of them came up to me afterwards and said, "If I knew you were doing it this good, we probably would have given you more access or something."
Well, that's a nice compliment.
Yeah.
Probably the best tick of approval we could have gotten.
Yeah. Are there any plans for the extra footage you shot that hasn't made the film, like maybe DVD extras or something like that?
Yeah, we've got a pretty extensive outreach program planned where we're working closely with organisations and companies and even communities as to how we're going to get the film out into the public space. So, with the companies and organisations, we're working alongside their RAP plans and just how we can get an educational kit together to speak to their employees and their audience members that they reach, and then also working quite closely within the education system to try and get an education kit together that's going to be able to speak to kids going through similar processes as what Zach did. In terms of the extras for the DVD footage, we plan on putting a few extras onto the DVD, but a lot of those extras probably will go into the educational kit just as extended footage,
right?
And little sequences.
Okay, good stuff there. Now, how does Zach's friends at school and that handle him being a film star now?
Well, it's funny because I think he still runs into a few of them. They still stay mates and they're buddies, and they're because they've followed his journey.
Yeah.
They knew that cameras were going to be at his birthday parties. They knew the cameras were going to be at his footy games. They kind of knew that we were doing this film. I don't think they realised how big and epic it was going to be. We had some surprised kids go, "Wow, man, I didn't know you were making that."
And you're a movie star now.
we had one of our next door neighbours turn up to our screening in Sydney the other night. And he'd always be around at our house, hanging out with Zach and Bailey and kicking the ball around and being friends. He's a little fella, but he walked in yesterday and him and Zach are about the same size now. They're both big sort of warrior dudes. And he said he couldn't believe the transformation that the film took him on. It took him into a world that he had no understanding of, even though he was coming into our house quite a bit. And it gave him a great understanding of who we were and what we were about. So, even seeing him grow from that little pipsqueak to what he is today, and to know that this film could possibly help him in the future was really satisfying to me, and to see that connection still with his friends there. It's a beautiful thing to watch, young men come of age.
Oh, good stuff there. Now, there have been a number of other films that have explored Aboriginal life there. We've had Ivan Sen's Tumala, we've had Warwick Thornton, Samson and Delilah, Ralph de Here's Another Country and all that. Have you seen a lot of those films, and what do you think of their representation of Aboriginal culture?
I love those films, and I love the fact that Aboriginal filmmaking is coming to the forefront of Australian cinema. Mm-hmm. And I'm so proud to be mentioned in the same breath as filmmakers like Ivanson and Warren Thornton, because those guys, are the pinnacle of Aboriginal filmmaking in this country, and I'd love to one day sit back in their company and do films with them. Charlie's Country is beautiful. Tumala is such an important sort of portrait of life in Tumala. Mm-hmm. And Samson Delilah gives you that amazing sort of artistic look at a young love in an Indigenous community. So they've all got their different importance, place within Australian cinema. And I believe Zach Ceremony will have its own place as well. And it's been on its own path for a long time now, the journey that it's taken. And I always say to Aaron and our team, I say, this film is being led by our ancestors, and the old people are certainly paving the way from us, because those old song lines are taking us around this country right now. And I believe in the next 10, 20 years from now, we'll look at Zach's Ceremony as being one of the most important documentaries to come out of this country in the past 50, 60 years. I sat down with Uncle Jack Thompson, and he cried when he saw this film, and he said thank you to me. And to have that from someone of Jack Thompson's ilk, to say to me, thank you, nephew, for making this, because this is going to help us become a better people and a better place. It meant the world to me to hear that. And same with having Gary Foley at a screening here at the Melbourne Film Festival. Right. To me, Gary Foley is one of the greatest, Australians in this country, and I believe he's someone that I look up to and admire greatly. And to have his approval after we screened that Myth in 2016, to have Gary Foley hug me and tell me, you did it, and I'm very proud of what you've done, and this is a film for all of us, made me feel very emotional and very happy and very proud that I was involved in making Zach's Ceremony.
Good reactions there. What else? What was the other reactions to the screenings of the film from other audiences at both the Sydney and Melbourne film festivals last year?
Yeah, it was great. You know, everybody that's come and seen the film has celebrated it. It's fantastic as a filmmaker to be able to stand down the front and receive a standing ovation to all the hard work that was put into something. But equally as satisfying seeing that nobody walks out at the end of it and everybody's there for a Q&A after it. And we get challenged. You know, we get a lot of great questions, and it's great to be able to extend on you know, the meaning behind the film and the meaning behind a lot of the themes in the film as well in those detailed Q&As. Right.
And you're doing a series of Q&As now to support the film at a number of special event screenings around the country. How have they been going?
They've been going wonderful, and, you know, we're on the PR campaign now. We're out there on the press, trail, and I guess Aaron and I are really on the grind trying to get as much press as we can to get people to come in and see the film. Mainly because, you know, it's really great to have an amazing product that you want people to see, but if the people don't get to see that, well, then the product ain't worth nothing. So, you know, we need people to come to our screenings. We need them to get in there and see these films. We're not a big Hollywood blockbuster. We're a small independent documentary film that just happened to have an Indigenous theme. So we need the people of Australia, and that's from all walks of life, black fellows, white fellows, no matter what colour you are, creed, race or religion you are. We want you to come into our little film and support this film and take it to that next level. We want you to share it. We want you to champion it and be in our corner. So please come along and see our little film. We're on at the Dendy Cinema. There's a season there, I think, here in Sydney, and we're on here at the Nova Cinemas in Carlton for a season of 4 weeks, I think. Yep. So please get out and spread the word and get there to Carlton, to the Nova Cinemas, and see our little movie.
Excellent stuff there. And what do you hope people take away from the screenings, especially us white fellas?
Oh, well, from my perspective, I just want people to take away a little component or a little element. I want them to feel like they've learned something. You know, the back end of this film is the education component, and it's just about learning something about the country as to where you live, or the local language that's spoken, or even just being able to absorb something from the film and being able to talk about it in a completely different way with friends and family. So it's a film that's filled with hope and celebration, and, you know, just need people to be able to embrace that.
I think for me, I'd like him to, I guess, share the story and have a better understanding of I guess, Indigenous life in this country. Right. But also, I want to walk out of the cinema with hope and being inspired for a better tomorrow. I think the one thing that this film is that it gives us hope. And it gives us hope for a better future, to be able to work together and walk together and build a better society for ourselves.
A strong message to take away from there. Aaron, now that you dipped your foot into directing feature films, are you got plans to direct any more films in the future?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this has been a very exciting process. As tiring as it is, it's incredibly rewarding. So, yeah, I'd love to be working on more films. You know, I've been asked that question quite a few times, and I really don't have anything to move on to at the moment, simply because we're trying to get through the release of this film. But, yeah, the next one's going to be, I guess, just as big and just as powerful, and hopefully carry a strong message moving forward.
Excellent stuff there. And if people want to find out where the film is actually screening for these Q&A screenings and elsewhere, how can they find out more information?
Yeah, the best place to go is zacceremony.com/screenings, and there you'll find pretty much all the screenings throughout the theatrical season, as well as FanForce screenings. So FanForce is an organisation that gives power back to the people, basically, when it comes to screening in cinemas. You can jump onto fanforce.com, and if you search Zac Ceremony, you'll be able to organise your own screening in your own town and, become a champion for it.
Excellent stuff. Well, congratulations on Zac's Ceremony, Aaron Petersen and Alec Doomadgee. And thank you for joining us on the program today to tell us a bit more about this fascinating and wonderful, inspiring documentary.
Great. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, mate. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.